The story starts with Hajime Nagumo being thrown into the Orcus labyrinth, which is full of powerful monsters that he has never seen before. A bear-like creature tears off and eats his arm, but he manages to escape by using his transmute ability to burrow deep into the ground. Luckily, he finds a divinity stone that generates an endless supply of ambrosia, a healing fluid that allows him to survive the loss of his arm. In a series of flashbacks, it is revealed that Hajime lacks any combat skills, but he possesses the unique ability to manipulate matter through transmute. During a dungeon mission with his classmates, they face a behemoth and one of them pushes Hajime into the abyss after he tries to save Kaori. Hajime struggles with extreme hunger in the abyss and resorts to setting traps to capture and eat the monsters, which alters his DNA and increases his strength through the constant regeneration from ambrosia. He continues to hunt and consume other monsters to gain their abilities and improve his own, and also experiments with his transmute skill to create weapons such as his first pistol, Donner. Finally, he defeats the bear creature that took his arm and sets out to find a way deeper into the abyss. The king is informed of Hajime's supposed death, but he refuses to acknowledge it as a hero's death and orders that it be kept secret. Through flashbacks, Shizuku, who is a friend of Kaori's, reveals that their high school class and teacher were summoned by the Pope to fight against demons and monsters in this world as heroes. She notices that Hyama, a classmate, is behaving strangely but is unaware that he attacked Hajime. Hajime eventually arrives at a massive stone door and defeats the guardians to obtain keys from their bodies. Kaori is determined to continue searching for Hajime. Beyond the door, Hajime discovers a young girl, imprisoned in a crystal, but he decides to leave her, believing that she must have been imprisoned for a reason as a monster. However, the girl reveals that she is an immortal vampire princess who was betrayed by her uncle who wanted her position, and was sealed away. Hajime, feeling sympathy for her betrayal, sets her free. She asks for a new name, and Hajime gives her the name Yue, which means moon in reference to her golden hair that reminds him of moonlight. Hajime and Yue are confronted by a massive scorpion monster. Yue feeds on Hajime's blood to regain her magical powers, and together they defeat the scorpion. While they eat the scorpion's flesh, Hajime tells Yue that vampires were wiped out 300 years ago, making her the last remaining vampire. Yue explains that the labyrinths were created by mavericks, powerful magic users who failed to defeat God, and each constructed a labyrinth as a sanctuary against God's retribution. They may still be alive on the deepest floors of the labyrinth. Hajime uses his transmutation ability to create a rifle named Skalajan from the scorpion's shell. He tells Yue about how he was betrayed by his classmates, but no longer harbors any ill will toward them. Instead, he desires the power to return to Japan, and he asks Yue to come with him since she no longer has a home. Meanwhile, Hajime's classmates decide to enter the labyrinth again. On a particular floor, all the monsters are infected and psychically controlled by a plant-like creature. Yue becomes infected, but Hajime is immune to the infection because he previously consumed one of the monsters. Later on, Yue seduces Hajime by stripping naked to drink his blood. Several days later, they reach the final floor and prepare to face the ultimate boss monster. Hajime and Yue face off against the final boss, a monster with 6 heads, each capable of different magic abilities, and one that can heal the others. Yue is almost eaten by a head that uses hypnosis to induce fear, but Hajime saves her with a kiss. Hajime manages to destroy 3 heads, including the healing one, using his rifle Skalajan, and Yue takes care of the other 3 using lightning. However, a surprise 7th head appears, and Hajime gets injured protecting Yue, while his rifle gets destroyed. Yue tries to attack with Hajime's pistol, but ends up getting injured herself. Despite being unconscious, Hajime hears Yue crying and miraculously gains increased speed, allowing him to dodge all attacks. He uses grenades to drop the roof on the head, and Yue finally kills it with her lightning. As the final door opens, Hajime passes out from exhaustion. Meanwhile, Iko Hatayama, also summoned as a hero, argues with the Pope, who wants them to re-enter the labyrinth. The Pope agrees to only send volunteers as long as Iko continues to use her fertility magic to support the kingdom's agriculture. Hajime wakes up in bed with Yue and realizes that he has lost his right eye. They find themselves in the home of the Mavericks, where they discover the skeleton of the Maverick named Oscar Orcus. Hajime's memories are forcibly examined by a spell that activates a recording left behind by Oscar. Oscar introduces himself and deems Hajime worthy to know the truth of the Maverick God War, granting him his power and memories before disappearing. Hajime's classmates enter the labyrinth and defeat the behemoth they believed killed Hajime. Hajime learns that the Mavericks were actually liberators, and he inherits Oscar's ancient creation magic, which allows him to add magical properties to transmuted objects to create artifacts. Over the next 2 months, Hajime takes advantage of Oscar's treasure, library, and workshop to learn as much as he can. He crafts weapons and vehicles and outfits himself with an advanced prosthetic arm and a magical jewel to replace his missing eye. During this time, Yue seduces him several times, and he gives her a magical ring. However, he warns her that his plans will eventually make them enemies of the church and their god, Ayat. Yue swears to stay with him regardless, and they teleport to the surface to begin Hajime's quest to conquer all the labyrinths for their ancient magics. Shea, a rabbit girl, is anxiously waiting for Hajime and Yue at their meeting spot. Even though Hajime and Yue find Shea annoying, they eventually listen to her as she explains that her tribe is threatened by monsters and that she has the magical ability to predict potential futures, which led her to foresee that Hajime would save them. Hajime agrees to help her and guides them to a great tree that Oscar mentioned in his library in exchange for Shea's guidance. When they reach the forest, Hajime kills several monsters, using Shea as bait. The rabbit men ask Hajime for training as they are tired of being helpless. However, Hajime struggles to overcome their rabbit-like timidity, so he trains them with a tough routine of kill monsters or I'll kill you instead, turning them into monster killers. They eventually arrive at the great tree, which Hajime discovers is the entrance to another labyrinth. A nearby stone slab with slots for rings like Oscar's reveals that this labyrinth will only open after he defeats other labyrinths first. The rabbit men decide to continue their training and guard the tree until Hajime returns. Meanwhile, Shea, who has fallen in love with Hajime, accompanies them as she technically won a duel by managing to scratch Yu's face. They journey to Risen Gorge, where they discover the entrance to a new labyrinth. There, they meet the energetic and mischievous maverick Mildy Risen, who designed a maze-like labyrinth full of pranks aimed primarily at Shea. Some of Hajime's classmates choose to leave the labyrinth and assist Aiko on the farms. Meanwhile, Hajime and the girls navigate the labyrinth and eventually confront the boss, Mildy herself, who controls a giant robot. After a long and challenging battle, they manage to crack her crystal heart. Mildy uses her remaining energy to wish Hajime good luck in defeating Ayat, although he claims he has no intention of doing so. Nevertheless, Mildy assures him that he will one day become a god killer. Upon reaching the treasure room, they discover the real Mildy's soul inside a small, cartoonish golem, and Shea punishes her for all the pranks. Mildy rewards Hajime by giving him her ring and Yue her ancient gravity magic. She then sends them out of the labyrinth via a whirlpool, but Shea nearly drowns because she cannot swim. Hajime revives her with CPR but tries to drown her again when she wakes up and attempts to kiss him. Exhausted, they find an inn, where Shea loudly insists that Hajime spend the night, taking her virginity. This embarrasses Hajime in front of others, causing him to punish Shea once more. Hajime is tasked by the Adventurers Guild to locate missing adventurers, including a nobleman's son. They travel to a nearby farming village, unaware that Aiko and several classmates are visiting the farms. However, one classmate, Shimizu, has vanished. Hajime attempts to avoid them, but Shea recognizes him and calls out his name, attracting their attention. Aiko tearfully confronts Hajime about his whereabouts, but he ignores her. They encounter an arrogant Templar knight who insults Shea, and Hajime inflicts severe injuries on him. His classmates are horrified and afraid of his newfound ruthless personality, but Aiko promises to find a way to restore him to his former self. Later, Hajime privately informs Aiko about the truth behind the war against the demons. Centuries ago, a group of humans discovered that the god Ayat was not on their side, but instead manipulating the war for his own amusement. They became the liberators and worked to free mortals from Ayat's tyranny. However, the church, acting on Ayat's behalf, labeled them heretics and renamed them mavericks. The remaining liberators built labyrinths to safeguard their ancient magics until someone capable of defeating Ayat appeared to claim their powers. Before leaving, he also reveals to Aiko that one of his classmates attempted to kill him. The next day, Aiko and the students insist on joining them in the search for the missing adventurers, as Aiko wants to learn more about the liberators. 9. Upon reaching the mountains, Hajime employs transmuted drones connected to his jewel eye to look for the missing adventurers. They locate the nobleman's son, Will, who is the only survivor of an assault by an army of monsters and a black dragon. While on their way back, the dragon attacks them. Hajime manages to knock it out of the sky and attempts to penetrate its armor with his weapon, the pile bunker, which can drive xanthium stakes through any material. The dragon nearly escapes, but Shea incapacitates it with Drucket. Deciding against penetrating the armor, Hajime cruelly stabs the stake into the dragon's only vulnerable spot, the anus. However, the pain causes the dragon to reveal that she is a female dragonborn, capable of assuming a human form, and pleads with him to remove the stake in exchange for everything she knows. She admits that someone compelled her with magic to attack Will and his companions and offers to aid them in stopping that person as atonement. Hajime intends to kill her regardless, but Yue persuades him to spare her. He extracts the stake, and the dragon transforms into a young woman named Tio, who is a shameless masochist and confesses to having derived some pleasure from the stake. As their new ally, Tio discloses that the culprit has an army of 60,000 monsters and intends to attack the farming village. At Aiko's request, Hajime agrees to fight and sets up barricades around the village while fending off Tio's advances. He jokes that their victory will be dedicated to Aiko, embarrassing her. Hajime uses his transmuted miniguns and rocket launchers to decimate the monster army, but eventually runs out of ammunition. Hajime, Shea, and Tio pursue the commander of the monster army, whom Hajime later discovers is Shimizu, the missing classmate. Shimizu admits to making a deal with a demon to gain power in exchange for killing Aiko. He scratches Aiko with a poison needle before being shot by a monster sniper. Hajime kills the sniper and saves Aiko with a kiss and the ambrosia. Shimizu dies and Hajime coldly executes him, causing Aiko great sorrow. Before leaving, Yue reveals that the sniper was targeting Aiko, so Hajime made Shimizu appear to be the culprit to help Aiko recover faster emotionally. A group of slavers captures a young mermaid named Mayu and plans to sell her. Hajime completes his task of returning Will to his father and decides to take a break, exploring the city as a tourist. During a visit to an aquarium, they encounter a talking fish who informs them of a captured mermaid child. Hajime and Shea search the city and rescue Mayu, angering the slavers' boss. Hajime struggles with what to do next and decides to hand Mayu over to the city guards, despite her desire to stay with him. However, the guardhouse is attacked and Mayu is kidnapped again. In a rage, Hajime begins killing the slavers' associates in search of the upcoming auction. Eventually, he locates the auction at a noble's mansion, kills the boss, rescues Mayu, and blows up the mansion, along with the auction's customers. Mayu calls Hajime Papa, which makes Yue, Shea, and Tio demand that Hajime impregnate them. Hajime adapts to being a parent for Mayu despite feeling uneasy about it. They go back to the city where the summoning of the heroes occurred. While at the Adventurers Guild, Endao, one of Hajime's classmates, rushes in and warns him that Katalea the demon set a trap for their classmates in the labyrinth. The other classmates are struggling to fight off the monsters summoned by Katalea and can't get close to her to defeat her. Hajime initially shows no interest in helping until Endao upsets Mayu, causing him to become even more reluctant. Suzu gets injured and most of the class decides to flee. Iyama and Nakamura suggest signing contracts with the demon to survive, but Kauki, the main hero, refuses to back down in attempts to get close to Katalea. He hesitates when he sees a locket with a picture of Katalea's lover, realizing she has a life beyond the war. As he hesitates, he gets severely injured. With encouragement from the girls, Hajime decides to save his classmates, as only one of them tried to kill him, making most of them innocent. Shizuku's sword breaks during the fight, and she prepares to die alongside Kaori, but Hajime creates a shortcut using his pile bunker to blast through the upper floors and save them at the last moment. Everyone is surprised to see Hajime still alive. Hajime is able to see through Katalea's magic and defeats all her monsters. Iyama is scared that Hajime will discover he tried to kill him. Hajime creates a new unbreakable sword for Shizuku using his transmutation ability. Mayu calls Hajime Papa, which confuses everyone and upsets Kaori. Katalea tries to run away, but Hajime catches her and tortures her for information, shocking his classmates. He learns that a powerful demon is using ancient magic to create a monster army. Katalea warns him that her lover will seek revenge, but Hajime kills her anyway. Kaoki is angry that Hajime killed Katalea and Hajime criticizes him for being too weak. Kaori confesses her love to Hajime, but he rejects her as he already loves Yue. Kaori still wants to join Hajime's team to compete with Yue. Shizuku tries to return the sword to Hajime, but he tells her to keep it. They leave in Hajime's SUV, with Kaori upset that she has to share the back seat with Shea and Tio while Yue gets to sit next to Hajime. Hajime is determined to return to Japan, no matter who he has to fight, even if it means fighting against God.